Welcome to the podcast Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook, where we will discuss the latest and most relevant business strategies to help you do one thing extremely well: sell more homes. We'll discuss everything from business planning to lead generation and conversion to past client customer service and everything in between. Join us for authentic conversations and nuts and bolts takeaways you can implement into your business today. And now, Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook. Got Kelly back with us today, and if you didn't check out last week, go listen to that episode. We had a guest on, which was great. He has some tools on transaction management. A really cool episode. But today, it's just back to me and Kelly, and we have kind of an interesting topic today, and that is, Kelly has built his career over 21 years and has learned a lot. This is why he has kind of some of this wisdom that he's learned from other people that he brings to you. He's still, boots on the ground, so to speak, as well, still working in the industry every day. And part of what he has built is to give back, right? That's why we have this podcast, is to kind of share what he's learned, help other agents who are maybe in the same stage of business as he is, maybe not quite there yet, maybe even beyond, but things that they haven't thought about. And we're going to kind of rewind all the way back before Kelly had any of this wisdom, right? Right at the beginning stages, because he started out just like everybody does, trying to just figure it out and get down to the grind and get some deals done. But Kelly, now 21 years in the future, if you had a time machine and you could go back and tell yourself one thing, give yourself one piece of advice, what would that be?
You know what? Okay, one piece of advice. So this could go in a lot of different directions, but I would say this is pretty practical, and that is to when it comes to money, to have your hand open, not clenched.
Okay.
Meaning if I look back at it, and I think most people who are halfway halfway smart, not even like, we're not talking Einstein here. We're not talking some guy with, 10, 20, 50 years of experience, just halfway intelligent. When you make a decision to invest in yourself in something, I think I've always had a return. I've always had a return. And if you know yourself, meaning you're going to work hard, you have a goal. And if you're listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, you are that person, period, the end. Because if you're not watching this podcast. You're not seeking it out. You're not even curious one bit to get even 30 seconds into it.
Not only is your fist closed, your eyes are closed, your ears are closed.
That's it.
Everything closed off.
And there's been multiple times, probably hundreds at least, maybe across my 21 years, where you're pitched something, right? Some sort of thing that will help your business, hopefully, right? And the ones that you actually research and take time to look into and do your due diligence, seek wise counsel, etc. Man, I think I've always had an ROI on it, whether it be something that's super quantitative, like, hey, if you invest in this lead source, you will get leads. Okay. And then what are you gonna do with them? Right. Or something like that's not as quantitative, like maybe coaching, one-on-one coaching or group coaching of some type. It's even to this day, knowing how to run a P&L, being very astute on that, watching it closely, and knowing how to run a business. You look at sometimes some of these expenses and the expense category in general, and you go, holy crap, that's a lot. And then you start sitting there going, man, but maybe that 1 month wasn't so hot, maybe even two. But when you take the 6 months picture or the 12-month picture, it's like, I guess, knock on wood, right? Because even by me saying knock on wood, I still have some of that trepidation because I'm human, and you are too. But knock on wood, because I know I'm going to work hard. I know I'm going to give it my best shot. I'm not going to just sit back and do nothing. It works itself out to the point in which the revenue far exceeds the expenses, no matter how expensive they are. Now, this is not a permission to go out there and just be stupid,
Reckless. Yeah.
reckless. Yes, thank you. Negligent. All these words. Um, but but when you're first starting out, you don't have much. And if I could have taken a few things that came on my way, whether it be maybe coaching to sign up for, or maybe it's this lead source, maybe this marketing thing,
Go to an
it would
event or
yes,
mhm,
it would have been a live event, absolutely,
mhm.
because you meet people and with relationships come all kinds of doors that open, and I wish I would have done that, and I didn't do that in my early in my career because I didn't have much, and I was clenching and hold on to everything I had, every dollar I could get because it truly didn't matter. It truly didn't
Mhm.
matter when you're living in your sister's house and you got to get out. It matters, but that's the startup for anything, let alone real estate. And so I think that's the one thing I could tell someone is to vet the thing that you need to maybe spend money on, vet it to make sure it's the right thing, the right brand of that thing, right? Too. There's probably multiple options in that thing category, and go for it. Go for it because your hard work combined with that additional help of that thing
It's a resource.
will
Mhm.
resource will it'll get you there. It just will, and it'll get you there faster. And what could take you 10 years could maybe take you 3. 10 years maybe take you 5, whatever it may
Mhm.
be. You'll cut the time in half. And not that you're, gonna quote unquote retire when you're, 40 as opposed to 60, or maybe you will, I don't know. But most of us that are in this profession that have that kind of mentality anyways, even if you can retire at 40 instead of 60, let's say, you're probably still going to continue to work to some extent, or maybe work in some other industry that's complementary of real estate sales or something like that, right? But it just gives you the options. And so I would say it's a long-winded way to say, Elizabeth, to do that. And don't be afraid. Yes, it will put you further maybe in the negative at that given time. Yes. But if you know yourself, you're going to work, be consistent, show up every day in the office
And
or
hold
wherever it is
yourself
to work.
accountable.
Yep,
Mhm.
you'll be there. You'll be
And
there. And
coaching things too. Like they also provide some accountability with that. I was just gonna
yeah,
add that in too. So it doesn't like, you know, it's not just all on yourself of, I mean, it is, but you have a partner there and things like that as well with something like
100%.
coaching.
And honestly, I would say, and listen, I don't have a coaching product to sell, so this is nothing. Um, maybe one day I'll coach some. I mean, I've coached some people privately here and there on the side, but I think coaching would be the number one thing. It literally would be because with the right coaching system, the right coach, you now have accountability, which is very important. I don't care how hard of a worker you are. Accountability. You have someone who has experience that will give you ideas to, instead of just trying all 10 ideas, try 1 or 2 and shorten that time frame down and that amount of failure down. And will, if it's with a larger, network, company or whatever, right? Then it'll introduce you to an ecosystem as well that then gets you in touch with easier with people, relationships. And so, yeah, I think that's the way to go to start off with. And then from there, you can pile on other things you want to do from a marketing standpoint, right? With your marketing budget, lead sources, et cetera. But yeah, that's my piece of advice. I mean, I started with $40, guys, that I had to borrow. And this is somebody who's clinching his right. I still took that risk because it's $40. Even back in 2005 with inflation, that wasn't that much, but it
Yeah.
was enough when you're renting a room for free, by the way, from your sister. So I still did that, and I borrowed it from her, and and it got me in the newspaper on a Saturday, not a Sunday, because Sunday was more expensive in the
Mm-hmm.
rental section. Because Lord knows you could not put an ad for $40 in the Saturday section for a property for sale for buyers and sellers because it was bid up because people were doing that and they had money and I didn't have any. Um, but I still took that risk and that risk paid off. I wish I would have maybe taken the risk with a little bit more money to go in the buyer and seller category, right? This is my point because I know I would have worked it if the phone would have just rang a couple times. And the reality is if you do it consistently long enough, the phone will ring. It's like the open house. Open house might be a minimal investment because you have to have some signs. You might want to do some balloons and maybe some food or water when people are there, but it's minimal. But someone still may not show up. If you do it long enough, every Saturday, every Saturday and Sunday, or whatever it may be, people will show up, period, the end. And so if you're going to work hard, if you're going to stay in touch, if you're going to provide value, it's going to pay off. It's going to pay off.
Mhm.
So anyways, that's my piece of advice is
And
have your
when
hand open, not clenched.
just to kind of go back to, obviously we said that, I kind of asked the question, if you could go back to yourself, like when you took that $40, right, and you got your first ad in the newspaper, or your first space in the newspaper, and you told yourself this, in reality, this now, to have, your mind open to invest in yourself, whether that's coaching, marketing program, traveling to events, networking, different things like that. When did you come to that realization? Was it a year down the line, 3 years down the line? Like what, and maybe you don't remember the exact moment, but if you could think back, just like what made you kind of take that first step to really invest in yourself, not just the mechanics of I need to spend this money to get a deal, but like take that money and invest in yourself as a business owner.
Yeah, I would say it was 2009. So it was about 4 years in.
Okay.
And the aha came from uh, my mentor at the time, which was a book because I didn't have a mentor.
Yeah, I was like, well, hold on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know how to even find the mentor.
Mhm.
I was just clueless. There's no coaching. I mean, there was coaching, I'm sure somewhere. I didn't. Where was it? I have no idea. Wasn't smart enough to try to take my head out of the sand to find it. I just worked hard. I knew how to do that part. Um, but I read the Millionaire Real Estate book, which is still out today and very relevant in many ways. And the light bulb just went off. Why? Because it was now I finally had a blueprint. I had a game plan. I didn't know. I had no idea what the percentages of cost of sale and expenses
You're
and how
just
to
out
run
there
a bit.
doing it and yeah, getting it
Yeah,
done.
yeah. And I had formal education in college. They don't teach you this stuff specifically by any stretch of the imagination. Then I even had now I was going through my MBA school at the time, finishing that up, and so or just before this, I should say. And so there was a lot of that type of talk, and obviously as you can imagine, so that made a lot of sense. But I still didn't know how to apply it to a residential sales business. Where was that in an MBA class? It doesn't exist. Maybe for some other type of industry or firm, but so when I got that red book and I read it, I was like, I couldn't put it down. The light bulb was just bing, 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 bing. This is it. And then it was, how do I? Then it was okay. I need to find someone to help me implement this. Where's the coaching company? I don't know. And then I eventually just went to that brokerage because I was trying to. That model was already talked about in the book, so
Hmm.
I knew if I was in the model, it would work with the numbers.
Hmm.
So I went to the brokerage before I got a coach. Maybe not the smartest thing, but maybe it was. I mean, at the time, that brokerage was on fire and it was lean
It was the
industry.
most
And
obvious option.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I just did that, and it was kind of free in a way because either way, you had to pay fees to some brokerage, right? So that was my thought process. So I did, and then after that point, I'm at the brokerage, and things are starting to crank, and I'm growing. And then I was like, you know what? The market shifted 2013 to 2014, at least in Arizona, big time because we were in the slumps and the market was coming out of the short sale foreclosure distress great recession and it was turning back to a traditional market. So now I needed to continue to grow and get out of the short sale foreclosure REO stuff. I needed to have more and better advice. And so that's probably around when I got coaching. I think right around that time, which was I don't know what is that 8 years too late. Should have had it from the very get go if I could afford it or figure out a way to afford it or borrow or whatever. So, anyways, it took too long. And I think if I look back on it, if I would have had it, in year 1 or 2, I would have accelerated everything by at least 50%.
Mhm. And I was going to say, what was your acceleration like from that point? Like, I mean, obviously you had been doing it for a while, so you've started building a book of business. You kind of started figuring out how to run things, but from that point when you started following the blueprint and then later got a coach, what did that like how much did that accelerate your
Yeah, but let's put it this way. From '05 when I first started to 2013, every year the net bottom line on the P&L, net profit, actually went up. So I literally made more. Now, maybe some years it was a couple $100, whatever. It wasn't made by
yeah.
much, but I increased. And I didn't have any goal set, didn't know how to even do that. But I was just flying by the seat of my pants, and with short sales, where it's a whole different market. We're
Yeah.
all trying to figure that part out. But I hustled, and it worked, and all that fun stuff. Then you get 2014 was the first year. And 14 was the first year that I actually went down backwards in terms of net profit from the year before. And the reason why is because we transitioned. Phoenix at the time was transitioning big time into a traditional market, and I didn't know how to really work that market. I didn't know. Everything had been distressed. I got in '05, and the market in Phoenix went down early in '06, end of '06, whereas in the rest of the country, it really hit in '08.
2008.
Yep. So anyways, that's then here's the good news. From 15 until basically, I think 2022, because 21 was like a phenomenal year.
Mhm.
I think 2022, because you just couldn't beat 21. The same thing happened by getting that coaching, by opening up my clenched fist every year. Net profit went up every year from the year prior through 2022.
And that's interesting too, because yeah, you took that dip as the transition happened, right? And you had to kind of readjust and realign and all of that. But probably because you had that blueprint now and you had some help, you recovered a lot quickly than a lot of people probably did in
No
that
doubt about
time.
it. There are
So
people that I never saw their name who are big in REO. Now, REO, remember, banks would just, if you had a bank account, right, with one of the big lenders or Fannie Mae or Freddie, you were just giving properties. Now, it was a lot of work, don't get me wrong, and a lot of minutia, but like you
yeah,
were just giving listings. And so people forgot how to actually, or they maybe
work on
didn't
it.
want to do it anymore,
Yeah.
right? And so there are big
Mhm.
names down here in Phoenix that I never saw again to this day. They just never made it out of it, or maybe chose not to at that point. It's too much, whatever.
Mhm.
And there are people that still I saw the name, but they were, I mean, they weren't the team they were, or the agent
Yeah.
they were in terms of production, right?
It was a
So,
split era,
yep,
essentially. Yeah.
that's it. That's it.
Okay, everybody. Well, I thought this was a really fun topic. And if this has to be your light bulb moment, I mean, again, you've been listening to this podcast for a while, probably, or if this is your first episode that you're listening to, let this be your light bulb moment if you are not already investing in yourself in some way. Again, whether that's coaching, maybe it's a brokerage change, maybe it's, just buying a ticket and going to an event so that you can hear others speak and get some real advice in maybe different points of view than you have. Let this be your light bulb moment. And Kelly, if anybody wants some more of your advice and what you would tell your younger self or what you might be able to tell them, where can they reach out to you?
Absolutely. I thank you for challenging me on this topic. This is really fun. At Kelly Cook Homes on Instagram, hit me up there at Kelly Cook Homes, and I'll get right back to you. Shoot me a follow, and let's connect.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you all next week. Bye, Kelly.
See you, Elizabeth.